What's up guys, it's Justin Spencer here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you some incredible deals that I found on BGC apartments. I scoured through Google Maps and I actually looked at from north to east to south to west, all the way around throughout the Bonifacio global city area. And I basically combed through and I found out of 23 places, I selected the top ones that I think most people are going to be the most interested in. So the first part of this video, I'm going to explain how I actually was able to do this research. But more importantly, I'm just going to leave you with my findings directly below in the video description. So every single apartment that I reference, every cool deal that I found, you can immediately just click on and see if it's readily available or find something very similar just by basically clicking. So I did most of the work for you, but I'm also going to teach you how I did the work in case you ever want to do your own research to find really high value, really good apartment deals in Manila or Makati or anywhere else in this particular Metro Manila region. Okay, so I use .property PH, that's my go-to. There's a bunch of other ones out there like Trovit and Lumati and RentPad, but I prefer .property PH because it's very easy to basically sort from lowest cost condos to highest cost condos rather quickly and differentiate between condos that are for sale and for rent very quickly. It's just so much easier to do in my personal and humble experience on .property. So .property.ph is the one that I use. When you go to that website, if you scroll down, it's going to say rent or buy, and you're going to click on the rental tab if you're looking to rent. And then when you see the price column, you just click on the price and then you click on it 1 or 2 times, and then it will basically allow you to shuffle until you obviously reorder all of the listings from lowest cost monthly pesos to highest cost, and it really streamlines the process for your research. Okay, so we're going to pick up this part of the conversation in a moment. For right now, I'm going to share with you my findings and what I'm excited about as far as some of the best deals going on right now in November of 2022 in BGC Philippines on these places. So let's check out what I found, and then we'll pick up the part of the conversation and talk about some other interesting topics like negotiating the lease length, negotiating the prices, determining whether or not you want unfurnished or furnished, a couple of other subtopics that I think you're going to find very valuable that really make your stay here in Manila or BGC more comfortable and more convenient. Okay, so I'm gonna order these listings in the description down below as I give them to you, and I'm gonna say them slowly so your brain has a chance to process what I'm actually saying. So in the uptown part, in the upper north side of Bonifacio Global District, or city rather, the first one you've got is One Uptown, and I found places starting at 25,000 pesos a month, which is really good. That's a little less than $500 US per month. I'll put the exact amount in the subtitles. The next one I found is Uptown Park Suites. Very great location. This one also starting around 25,000 pesos a month. Park West, again, fantastic location. These three are in the northern parts of Bonifacio Global City. Really love these locations. I've seen all these personally, and I have independent vlogs on One Uptown Park Suites and One Uptown Residences as well. I've vlogged both of those. Be sure to check those out if you want to see exactly what those places look like. I've not seen Park West in person besides being in the Starbucks that it's built on top of, but it looks like a really nice building, and it also has pretty solid reviews on Google, which tells me that they're probably doing a relatively pretty good job with management. There's a 4.3, which is pretty good. Next up is the Montane, and this is in a very similar area, very close to the first three that I just gave you, starting at 25,000 pesos a month for the Montane. And when I say starting at, I'm usually referring to a very small studio or a 1-bedroom that is going to be anywhere from about, on the very low side in these buildings, probably 300 square feet to about 380 square feet, in that range. For square meters, about 29 square meters on the very low end to around 35, 36 square meters on the higher end for these listings I just gave you. So for number 5, we've got McKinley Park Residences. This is close to Burgo Circle, a really nice part of Bonifacio Global City, and starting at 25K for this one as well. Next up after that, we've got the Verve Residences. These are starting again at 25K. After that, we've got 2 Serendra starting at 25K. So 2 Serendra has a lot of towers, a lot of buildings, and some are highly rated way above the others. So 2 Serendra more towards south, right across from the SM Aura Mall. Those buildings in 2 Serendra look like the most desirable by far. They have the highest reviews. I believe also they are the newest building. So they have 1 Serendra, which is a little bit more north. And if you go a little bit more south towards SM Aura, as I was just disclosing, you'll find the 2 Serendra properties and towers. And the 2 Serendra looks less dated, more modern, and more desirable to live in based off of what I found. So there's a Sequoia tower and a couple of other towers right next to Sequoia that had 4.4, 4.6, 4.4 again, as far as multiple Google reviews, and the amenities in that subsection, the south part, look really good compared to the north towers and compared to one Serendra. Next up, we've got Fort Victoria starting at 25,000 pesos per month. And some of the pictures for the Fort Victoria apartments that I saw really impressed me. The Google reviews, I'll have to double check on those, but overall it looked like a solid place, solid enough for me to include. And also I'm going to tell you the places I researched and did not include in this recommended list. If you stick around long enough, I'll tell you why I didn't recommend those places, so that you have even more knowledge of how to go about doing this research for yourself, so you can pick the nicest place at the best cost for you. Next up, we've got South of Market Private Residences. I found a place here starting at 30,000 pesos per month. Good Google reviews for this place, great location, and also it looks pretty nice inside based off the photos that I saw when I was researching on .property.ph. Okay. Next up after that, we have Blue Sapphire Residences. This one, the cheapest one I could find was actually 40,000 pesos for this particular place. And the reviews are really good. The location is really good. And it just depends upon if you want to spend a little bit more for this place. Shuffling downward a little bit, if you want to actually really lower your cost of living and you're okay with a co-living situation where you have a flatmate or two or three, depending upon what type of place you get. The Flats at BGC is actually just outside, bordering the line separating BGC from the next part, the next city. And so the Flats BGC is really great. The Flats BGC is starting at 6,400 pesos per month to rent a bed, and that's pretty good. And the reviews are pretty solid. I believe they were 4.1, and it looks overall like a really great place to save money. And it looked like the pictures made it look, to me, my perception, looked like a relatively pretty nice place to live for a cohabitation type of setup. And based off of what I read on their website, it's basically by default, men and women are separated for the dormitories or whatnot for the rooms. And you can also rent a studio there. I saw on their website, if you want to live by yourself, starting at 18,000 pesos a month. The photos looked really good, and 18,000 pesos a month for that location is also really good if you were able to get a studio. I'm assuming that the Flats BGC is going to be really in demand, but I could be mistaken about that. I'm not personally inquired, but because it's so close to BGC, and also because the photos looked so good, and also because the prices are so low, I would assume that there's a lot of demand for stuff like that. But anyways, I needed to tell you this option because it's pretty cool. It's worth checking out if you're on an extremely low budget, or you prefer to live with other people to make friends very quickly and expand your social circle. Next up, we've got Avida Towers, 34th Street, and this one is starting at 30,000 pesos. And we've got Avida Towers Verte starting at 35,000 pesos. And then we got Avida CityFlex Towers, 35,000 pesos. Now these three towers are in totally different locations, literally in the Bonifacio global city. And they're all obviously by Avida. They all have pretty solid reviews, and they're all hovering around that low 30,000 pesos price range to start off with. And yeah, they're in good locations. They have good reviews. What's not to like? Definitely had to include those. So yeah. Okay. Coming up now are the ones I did not include that just don't fit the description of incredible deals on apartments in the Bonifacio Global City area. So I'm going to explain to you the ones that I did not include in my recommended list, which we just went over. And so yeah, let's do that. The first one is Bonifacio Ridge Condominium. There's nothing wrong with this place. The reviews were good, but it's simply starting at 75,000 pesos a month. So it's simply more expensive for Bonifacio Ridge Condominium as of the current market rates today. So I simply am not including many of these places, basically because they're much higher prices than many people looking to come here are looking to pay. So next up, we have East Gallery Place. This place looked amazing. It was built by Ayala Premier Land, and starting at 85,000 pesos a month, which is why I didn't include it. That was East Gallery Place. Again, looks like a very beautiful building, very nice reviews. Next up is West Gallery Place. Obviously, as you would think, it's right next to East Gallery, very close by. And based on my research, those are only for sale. They're not for rent, and they're starting at 20 million pesos at the moment. So you can rule those out and factor those out of your research unless you are very rich and you want to live in, buy or rent in one of those places. So next up, we've got Fort Palmspring Condominium. These ones started at 25,000 pesos per month. And to be honest, the pictures look pretty reasonably good. I almost included it in my recommended list, except when I went on the Google reviews, there was 67 Google reviews and it was ranked at 3.3. I read in between the lines and there was some stuff going on there that, if it's true based off of what I saw in the Google reviews, I definitely can't recommend it, even though it fell into the price point budget of 25,000 pesos per month, and despite having a good location and nice photos. Next up, we've got Avida Towers Turf at BGC. This place had really good reviews. The only problem right now is it looks like, based off of my research, they are currently for sale only at Avida Towers Turf BGC. Okay. Next up, we've got Avida Towers BGC 9th Avenue, and I could only find listings actually on carousel.ph only for Avida Towers BGC 9th Avenue. The listing prices seemed reasonable enough. I believe I saw some 30, 35K, 40K-ish listings for 9th Avenue Avida Towers BGC, but because it wasn't on dot property, because only individual folks without brokers were representing the place, which is not as common, but it's still actually not a problem. In some cases, that can actually be a benefit. I include it for those reasons in the recommended list. Next up, we have the Grand Hyatt Manila Residences, and this place looks amazing. It's probably gorgeous inside. I'm still trying to get a tour in that place for the Grand Hyatt Manila Residences in northern Bonifacio, and they start off at 100,000 pesos a month as the lowest. So unless you're willing to pay just under $2,000 US, it's probably not going to be for you. Next up, we have the Seasons Residences. These were starting at 137,000 pesos a month, according to my research. And this is a Japanese style engineered and built building. The actual amenities for the Seasons Residences are mind-blowing. I recently watched a video presentation on those, and I'm currently in the process of trying to get a tour on the model units there. And so the Seasons Residences, there's actually 4 buildings totally built with Japan style engineering and design, etc. So that's why they call it. You can own a piece of Japan in Manila because it's literally like Japan. So the 4 towers, you've got summer, winter, fall, and spring. So that's why they call 4 towers. The 4 Seasons Residences is beautiful. The Mitsukoshi Mall, I recently did a vlog on, is built right underneath. So the Seasons is built right on top of the Mitsukoshi Japanese Mall. First of its kind in Manila, just recently opened last week of November 2022. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous, and it's fantastic. So you can buy or rent in that place. And next up, we have the Uptown Ritz. Uptown Ritz is one of my personal favorites. I've been there in person if you want to check that out somewhere, if I put a card in the YouTube for you. Uptown Ritz, I really enjoy that place. It's like an upscale luxury condominium unit directly across from One Uptown Residences, right by the Uptown Mall. But the only downside is they start at 70,000 pesos per month as far as rent goes. So I did not include it in my list here just because of the price limiting factor that many folks are probably looking to stay under as well. So once you find a place or 2 or 3 you would actually like, obviously you want to inquire through .property.ph or RentPad or whatever website you prefer to use. Again, I recommend .property. You schedule the viewing, you set that up, and then if you like the place, great. If you don't like the place, no problem. You go and you wait for another place. But if you find a place you do like it smells okay, it looks like it's been well maintained, it looks like there's not any red flags. Red flags being that it looks like it wasn't kept well, it looks dirty, it looks smelly, and there's been nobody already currently living in it, and it still has those problems, then that could be a major issue. But if you're willing to overlook those things, that is totally up to you. If you really want the place and it's you're okay with cleaning it, etc. But for me, those are just some basic examples of red flags. So negotiation, price. If you're willing to pay more upfront, then we can potentially get some wiggle room on the price. If you're willing to pay maybe like 6 months upfront, for example, if you sign a 6-month lease or even a 12-month lease and you pay the majority upfront. Many landlords are going to want post-dated checks. If you're a foreigner, it's very, very hard to get post-dated checks because you need a local bank account. You can open up a bank account with HSBC here if you're willing to put in, I believe it's 50,000 US dollars into it, and then you can get a debit card, if I'm not mistaken, because my good friend who lives also here in Makati actually was telling me about this, and he followed through and did this, and it was a success. So this is good information, reliable information. There could be other bank accounts here that allow you to open for putting in a much smaller amount to get the post-dated checks. There are other solutions out there, for example, to get different types of visas that will enable you to be able to open up a bank account. Those visas cost money, and you need to hire a third-party company to get those visas. So how did I solve this problem? Well, it's quite straightforward. The couple who owns this apartment I'm currently renting, they are Filipino American, so they have the Chase bank account, they have Zelle. I got really lucky, straightforward, simple answer, right? I have a Chase bank account because I'm also an American. So I just pay directly through that super conveniently. And if I did not have that as an option, my girlfriend has a BPI local bank account, and I could have just leaned off of her bank account, and I could have sent the money to my girlfriend through the Wise Transfer app, and I could have just paid the landlord if I needed post-dated checks through her BPI account. And if you don't have a girlfriend, that's fine. And if you don't want to spend that extra money to get those other visas, or you don't have the money to open up another account, there are other ways and solutions, which would basically involve you negotiating your lease length down to 6 months and then just paying 6 months up front if you can. And then also you're gonna probably have to pay another 2 months of security deposit. There's not really a way around most of the time to get around the 2 months of security deposit, even if you're paying off the entire thing up front, which I get it. It's not normal or customary, but in the Philippines and in Manila, things are done differently. It seems to me like the landlords have a lot more power here than in the United States. It doesn't seem that way. It's actually the case, because in the United States, whenever I've rented like a zillion places in New York and Arizona, I mean a lot. I'm talking over 12 or 13 places, and a lot of them were middle class, upper middle class, or some of them were even ultra luxury. And every single time, I only ever had to, in more than 50% of those places, 6, 7, 8 places, I did not even need a security deposit. If my credit score was something specific, if I had like a 725 credit score, I didn't even need a security deposit, boom. And then I just pay 1 month advance and I'm in. And then there were some times where I did have to pay 1 month security deposit and 1 month advance to move in, which is normal. But in Philippines, they want 2 months security deposit, just for their own safety. And then sometimes they want 2 months of rent up front, or the whole thing up front, or if not the whole thing up front, the post-dated check. So what would I do if I didn't have a girlfriend who had a BPI account, and if I did not want to put 50 grand into a separate account in the Philippines just to get post-dated checks? I would probably lean more towards getting one of the visa options, because it's the least expensive, least cumbersome way to do it. So again, you'd find a third-party company that can help you out to get a specific type of visa, which will enable you to get a bank account. I'm not gonna give you specific details, but I'm gonna give you several hints and clues like I just did, that plus Google. But yeah, just to wrap up this video, again, in the video description, you'll see all the findings that I found today for BGC. If there's enough interest in these types of styles of videos, I can also do Pasig, or I can do other cities like Eastwood City, Arcovia City, or any of the other ones that come to mind that seem to be popular, of course, Makati. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching. If you got value out of this video, please hit the like button. It's free. It takes 1/4 of a second to do, and it helps me and the channel out a ton so I can create more and better content for you. And also, 80% of my viewers are currently not subscribed still. About 20% are. If you're willing to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell so I can stay in touch with you, my goal is to form a friendship with you, a connection with you, an authentic one, a genuine one, and to educate you and also entertain you, and basically make your day more positive and more brighter, and to help you learn some of the important things about Philippines and business and finance and other topics that I like to cover on this vlog. So that would be so great to have you a part of that. You rock. And in a moment, you're going to see some other options for videos you can check out if you have the time and if you want to. Thank you so much. I'll catch you on the next video. Bye for now.